Hi everyone. In this video lecture, I would like to discuss thread life cycle. So in previous lectures, I have introduced what a thread is actually and how can we create a user-defined threads. So in this lecture, I would like to discuss thread life cycle. What is a thread life cycle? Thread life cycle is the collective information right from the starting point of the thread to ending point. So that is called thread life cycle. Just like human life cycle from birth and death, thread has some stages, different stages. So new stage to dead state, dead state. Okay. Let me discuss it clearly. So first, how can you create a thread? So you can create a thread by using this type of statement. Okay. It's clearly discussed in the last class. So this is called creating a thread object or thread. So thread is nothing but an object. Thread is nothing but a thread object. So thread object, thread. So both are same. So this is the way you can create an object. So when you create a thread object, that means it will be in new or born state. So when you create an object for a thread class, it will be in new or born state. Okay. So next, whenever you call start method, so using the thread, whenever you call start method, so whenever you call start method, immediately it will go to ready or runnable state. Okay, ready or runnable state. That means still the thread has not started it. Okay, still the thread has not started it. So what does it mean? See, I told you in the last class, a thread definitely needs some memory and time to execute. A thread needs memory and time to execute. Okay, so those two are, that means memory and time, these two are called resources. Okay, so when you call start method using thread object, that means the thread will go to ready or runnable state. That means still the thread has not got any resources by the computer. Okay, no computer resources are allocated for the thread. So whenever resources, that means time and memory are allocated for a thread, that means the thread will go to running state from runnable state, runnable or ready state. So whenever you call start method, so the thread will go from new or born state to ready or runnable state. So whenever thread is allocated some memory, resources, memory and time, those are called resources. So whenever a thread is allocated some resources, then it will go to running state. That means the thread is working with memory. So whenever thread is in running state, that means thread is working with memory. That means thread has some time to work with memory. That means thread has been allocated some resources. Okay, so that is second one. Suppose if the thread has completed all its allocated tasks, so whatever the work or task allocated for thread, if it is complete, then it will go to dead state. So how can a thread move from one state to another state? So definitely a thread must call some methods. So by calling methods, a thread can move from one state to another state. So let me discuss in detail. Okay, so I told you, so whenever you create an object for a thread class, that means whenever you create a thread, that will be in new or born state. So whenever the thread calls start method, it will go to ready or runnable state. If resources are allocated for the thread, it will go to running state. Okay, so how can it go to dead state? Dead state in the sense that is the final state of the thread. So when can it go to dead state? So whenever thread calls stop method, it will go to dead state. Okay, so between new state and dead state, we have clearly ready or runnable state and running state. the thread always fluctuate between these two states, runnable state and running state. So the thread always fluctuate between runnable and running states. Okay. So when can it and another state is there between these two, between runnable and running state, another state is there, that is called blocked state. Okay, that means thread is blocked, that is called blocked state. Okay, so when can a thread go to blocked state? So let me discuss in detail with the help of some theory. So we have gone through ready or runnable state, new or born state, running state, dead or destroy state. Next, blocked state. So let me discuss blocked state in detail. So this is called blocked state. Okay, this is called blocked state. So when will a thread go to blocked state from running state? Okay, so in 4 situations. In first situation, if the thread calls sleep method by mentioning some time as a parameter, so some seconds, 10 seconds or 20 seconds, whatever it may be. So if the time is mentioned here, so till the completion of that time, the thread will go from running state to this state, blocked state. Okay, next, if the thread calls wait state, if the thread calls wait method, not state, if the thread calls wait method, it will go to blocked state from running state. And when the thread calls suspend method, it will go to blocked state. Or if the thread is waiting for IO operations, that means if it is going to perform either input or output, that will be go to blocked state. So we have some other methods to get out of this blocked state to runnable state. So what are the methods? Okay, first one, resume method. Resume method, if the thread calls resume method, it will go from blocked to ready state, ready or runnable state. If some other thread calls notify or notify all methods, either of these two methods, not two methods, either of these two methods, if another thread, not the same thread that is in blocked state. Okay, so if some other thread calls notify or notify all method, either of these two methods, then the thread which is in blocked state will go to runnable state. Next, we have discussed sleep method. If the sleep time is over, suppose 10 seconds or 20 seconds, whatever it may be, if the sleep time is over, then the thread will come from blocked state to runnable state. So if the sleep time is over, it will go to runnable state. Okay. Next, if the thread performs IO operations successfully, then it will go to runnable state. So when IO operations are performed or completed successfully, then from blocked state to runnable state, the thread will move. Okay. So that is regarding life cycle. Then from runnable state, so see what is the difference between runnable and running state. I told you already. The thread, if the thread has been allocated resources, computer resources. So what are the resources? Memory and time. If the thread is allocated some resources, that means memory and time, then it will go to running state. If the thread was not allocated any resources, it is in runnable state. Okay. Suppose if the thread is in running state, and if the thread calls yield method, if the thread calls yield method, then it will go to, the thread will go to runnable state from running state directly. So it will not go to blocked state. Okay. So whenever the thread is in running state and the thread calls yield method, then it will go to runnable state directly. Okay. So when the thread is in runnable state, if the thread is allocated resources, then it will move to running state. and if the thread has performed all its operations, so whatever the tasks assigned to the thread, if the thread performs all these operations, all operations, then it will go to dead state. Okay, so that is regarding thread life cycle. So you can go through the theory clearly. Thank you.